Rex Tillerson is Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of State. And this story just got a lot more interesting. Besides him being exxon-mobile CEO and being a friend of Vladimir Putin, which seems to be, you know, if you're a friend of Vladimir Putin these days, it seems to be a hard road for you. But the story got a lot more interesting with Rex Tillerson once it was uncovered today that while he was the CEO of Exxon, Exxon actually had business transactions with Iran during the time that Iran was underneath sanctions. Now, in general, doing business with anyone who America has imposed economic sanctions against is illegal. But the way they, quote unquote, got away with this was by using a European-based company in partnership with Exxon. And so everything seems to be, quote unquote, legal. But still, it doesn't negate the fact that they circumvented U.S. sanctions in order to do business with Iran. Now, this is not the first time we've seen something like this. We've seen other businesses who have gone through painstaking hurdles in order to do business with a country that we have sanctioned or we have labeled as state sponsors of terror. But this is, as far as I can remember, this is the first person poised to be the Secretary of State who has this level of conflict of interest. And again, I'm sorry, conflict of interest is not the precise word, but you understand what we're saying. So this is according to the USA Today. He not only did business with Iran, but he also did business with Syria and the Sudan through this European subsidiary. The transactions were conducted in 2003, 2004, and 2005 by a company named Infinium, which ExxonMobil owned 50% share in. All this information was uncovered, according to US Today, it was uncovered by American Bridge, which is a Democratic research group, basically opposition research. But this is pertinent information, and it's most certainly going to come up during his confirmation hearings that begin on Wednesday. The question is, in light of all of the McCarthy-styled fear-mongering, and as a progressive, as a person who generally opposes everything that Donald Trump is going to want to do, that is the climate right now. The question is, can Tillerson get by with this baggage, this stain? I mean, we're talking about Iran, Syria, I mean, the Sudan. You know, we're talking about nations that that America clearly has problems with. We'll just reduce it down to the most common denominator, the least common denominator. Whether or not he can get past the Senate confirmation hearings. It was a slam dunk before this came out, not so much anymore. So there's filings from 2006 that show that the company Infinium had $53.2 million in sales to Iran, $600,000 in sales to the Sudan, and $1.1 million in sales to Syria during those years. And again, this is reporting from USA Today. So the question is this a disqualifying revelation? I would say so. Right? So, you know, you can't have plausible deniability with sales of this magnitude. And when I say this magnitude, I'm not talking about the financial aspect of it. I'm talking about the people with whom they were doing business. There's no plausible deniability in this, right? You know, when you're engaging with companies that are on America's state sponsor of terrorism list, that has a tendency to work its way up the food chain for approval. So if he knew about this, which I'm sure he's going to claim he didn't, but if he knew about this, this should 100% be a disqualifying factor. Even if he didn't, he had a responsibility to know about this, right? The buck stops with him, so there's no real way around this. The only question is, will he survive the confirmation hearings and become Donald Trump's Secretary of State?